Disdain is a work of art. I got your name tattooed in an arrow heart. And I know now that I'm so down. Okay. Welcome back to The Blunt Side, the podcast where we talk about anything and everything without a filter. I'm Sydney, and if you're coming back to join me once again, thank you so much. I appreciate you from the bottom of my heart to anybody that is watching my content. And if you're new here, welcome. Basically, on this podcast, I just talk about whatever's been on my mind, whatever's just going up on in here. And let me tell you, there's a lot that I would like to rant about today. Like, today's episode is going to be, just like more of a rant on just like what's been going on. So without further ado, let's get into it. Okay, well, first of all, about this microphone, I've talked about it many times. I finally ordered a new one. Actually, I got one from Walmart, which was a mistake. I don't know what I expected, but I saw this, like, it said podcast kit, and it, like, caught my eye. I was like, oh my god. So I bought it. It was, like, $30. It was terrible. It was worse than this one. Like, this one's, like, broken, but at least, like, it sounds good for the most part, and it works. So yeah, I returned that, and I just ordered a new one, which will be here on Saturday, and hopefully it will just be better, because I don't like that I have to hold this one. It comes with the stand, but it always, like, falls out. So, like, if the stand wasn't broken, this thing would be fine, but I also just kind of find it ugly, to be honest. Like, I just don't like the way it looks. So anyways, that's a little update on that. But other than that, like, I was just kind of thinking lately about my New Year's goals, because I kind of brought it up in a past episode that I wanted to talk about what my goals were for the year and, like, my New Year's resolutions. And so I think it's a good time to update on that, because we're 2 months into the year. March is tomorrow, and I kind of just want to talk about, like, how my resolutions have been going, how I've been struggling with them, and yeah, like, all of that. So basically, my New Year's resolutions were to, number one, be single. Like, I don't think you guys understand how big of a deal that is for me to want to try and be single, because this is something I've been wanting to do for, like, years. Because basically, a little thing about me, I'm a Libra. If you don't know, Libras, like, are made to be in relationships. Like, Libras are obsessed with love. They're literally the sign of partnerships and love and relationships. And so, and I'm not blaming it on astrology. It's a lot deeper than that. But I mean, I'm a Libra. This is who I am. And so restraining myself from that is honestly debilitating, because I have never not been in a relationship since I've been, like, 14 years old. I'm 22 years old. And so how many years is that? Freaking 8 years or something of just in and out of relationships. Like, I don't remember the last time I was actually single. Like, maybe for, like, a couple months, and then I would find a new guy and get with him, and we'd start dating, and I'd think I'm in love with them, and, like, the cycle just continues. And so yeah, like, after I got out of my last relationship, after I got cheated on, I was like, okay, I can't do this anymore. I cannot keep running from myself, because I know I've been doing that this whole time. Like, I've been knowing that I've been in these relationships because of my abandonment issues since I was, like, I don't know, 17 or 18. So I've known for a while, like, that I've been in them to run away from myself, but I haven't actually had the strength or bravery to actually want to, like, stop that cycle before. It's kind of just always been in the back of my mind. Every time I got a new boyfriend, I was like, we're really gonna do this again? Like, you know how this is gonna end. And I just knew every time, like, this person isn't right for me. I'm only with them because I don't want to be alone, and I'm scared to be alone, and I'm scared of being abandoned. And so it just kept continuing, right? Until, like I said, recently I got cheated on, and I was kind of just like, okay, the new year is, like, right around the corner. Like, maybe I should actually try to be single. Like, I'm in my 20s. I need to learn who I am. I need to be comfortable with being who I am, because at the end of it all, like, at the end of your life, you're gonna the only person you're going out with is you. And so if you don't like yourself, you're gonna have a tough life. So yes, that's resolution number 1. Also, along with that is being celibate. Basically, all of my relationships have started off sexual, and then I've just kind of forced a relationship out of them with people that never valued me for myself. They only valued me for my body to begin with. And then I was like, oh, well, I can like be with this person. No. So I have to be celibate. There's no way for me to like just not date, but also have hookups with people, because again, I'm a Libra. We're obsessed with love. There is no just casual sex for me. And I honestly don't understand how anybody has casual sex, because I just don't get it. I don't get it, because I'm the type of person where like if I'm hanging out with someone and we're hooking up and we're bonding like that, and then I like their company, like I'm gonna have a crush on you. And so that just goes with the resolution. Like I have to be celibate. So those 2 things alone, oh my god, I can't tell you how much I've been struggling. In January, I was doing pretty good because I had like all the momentum of, oh my god, I'm chasing my goals, it's a new year, blah, blah, blah. And I feel like a lot of people are like that. Like we all know in the gym, everybody's there January 1st, ready to go, ready to change their lives. And then slowly the people start trickling out as January goes on, because you lose that momentum. You lose that like, oh my god, it's a new year. You lose that like momentum and commitment and discipline, right? And so January, I was going strong, okay? I was journaling every day, which is another one of my resolutions. I wanted to journal every day because it's something that I've always wanted to do. I feel like journaling is so important with like getting to know yourself and processing your emotions. And somebody like me, I have a bad habit of not like processing my emotions and then just trying to like move on from them, and then they always pop up later. And I feel like most of us do that. And so every time I have journaled in my life, it's been so beneficial for me. And so I've always wanted to do it like every day, but I always fall off of it. And then months go by and I have to like update my journal on all this stuff that has happened. And it's just like exhausting. I'm not connecting with myself. And so that was another resolution, journal every day. And one way that I've kept myself in line with that is doing these monthly challenges. So if you just look up on Google, like January journal prompts, February journal prompts, they have like a list of journal prompts that go along with however many days there are in the month. And so in January, I was doing my journal prompts. I was like writing. Anytime I felt something, I would write. I was trying to write very dramatically, like poem style almost, because I was also trying to like challenge my ability, like my writing abilities, because I love writing and I want to get better at it. And I was just going strong with that for a while. I felt so connected to myself. I felt like I knew who I was. I knew like what my problems were. I was like, okay, I'm good. And simultaneously, as January is going on, I'm talking to somebody, okay? And when I mean talking to somebody, I don't mean like, oh, I'm in a relationship. I don't mean like, oh, I don't know what it was, okay? It was just me talking to somebody and honestly just filling my void with them, which was literally rule number 1. Like, don't do it. Don't do it. I didn't break my celibacy with this person, but basically I was talking to them like almost every day. And so I wasn't really like fulfilling my resolution of like finding myself, because yes, I wasn't in a relationship and I still wasn't like, I was being celibate, but I was kind of finding loopholes, you know what I mean? Like filling my void by talking to somebody. And then in February, oh man, when February hit, I don't know what was in the air. I don't know what changed in the planets, but when February hit, everything just started falling apart. Like my momentum, my goals. And honestly, I think it started with me going to Niagara Falls with my family and drinking and like having one of those nights out on the town. Because after I came home, my whole like routine was messed up. And I don't know why, but I kind of fell into like a depressing episode after that. And so I was finding it very hard to stick to my goals, like the journaling especially. I was starting to fall off journaling and I was like, I was just like, when January ended, I was like, oh my God, I love journaling. I'm so happy I've been doing this. And then as soon as February hit and I started falling off my journaling, I was like, well, I don't understand why I'm even falling off. Like, I enjoy doing it. It's fun. Like, why am I finding it so hard to like do it every day again? And then I started having all of these like negative feelings, and honestly, the entire month of February was kind of like that. Especially in the middle of the week, I had a week straight of crying every day because I literally felt like I was having a mental breakdown, because I was kind of coming to terms with the fact like, okay, I actually need to be alone. I can't keep like filling my void by talking to this person. And so I kind of realized, okay, so if I don't have somebody to talk to every day and like fill my void with, what do I have? Okay, so I have my hobbies and the things I like to do. I like filming videos, and I want to be a content creator, and I want to inspire people and kind of be a guide for them and all of that. And I was like, okay, but what if I took that away? And the reason I was thinking about that is because I was thinking about what it was like when we were children and we didn't have phones yet, and we actually played outside, and like life just felt more vibrant and fun. Like, do you ever think about how when you were a kid, the colors seemed brighter, life seemed more special, magical? And yes, that's partly because we didn't have the responsibilities that we have as adults, but it's also because we spent like 95% of our time outside. We played, we had an imagination. When we were bored, we created games, we created toys. And now when we're bored, we just go on our phone. It's almost like this world is the second world and our phone is like our number one like place to go. You know what I mean? Like when you used to go on the computer as a kid, like before phones, when you just had the computer, the family computer, and you used to log onto the computer and then you'd log off and you go back to life. You'd like play outside and you'd see your friends and you'd spend time with your family. And now it's like there's literally no logging off. There's no logging off, and there's no going back to real life, because your phone is so accessible that anytime you get an uncomfortable feeling, or you feel bored, or you feel lonely, or you need attention, you go on your phone. And I was realizing all of this, okay? I was realizing all of this, and I was like, I don't want to be on my phone like this anymore. Like, because if I'm not filling my void with a person or food or a hobby, I'm filling it with my phone. And so it's equally as unhealthy to use my phone as much as I was using relationships to fill voids. You know what I mean? And so I started thinking about like, okay, so my phone is really draining me, and I'm very addicted to my phone because I'm using it all the time because I don't have somebody to talk to or be in a relationship with. And so I'm feeling drained all the time. And then I was thinking, okay, so how can I go back to the way I felt as a child, but also be on my phone? Because for me, it felt like there was no in between. I was thinking like, okay, I want to go back to how it was as a kid, but I also want to be a content creator. And I don't know, I just started spiraling, man. I just started thinking, okay, taking relationships away, taking my phone away, taking my hobbies away. Like, I was just imagining like taking everything away as if it were like being used as a void filler. If I took it all away, I was like, who am I without these things? Like, who am I without a relationship? Who am I without my phone? Who am I without my hobbies? What if it all got wiped away? Who am I? And I realized like I don't fucking know who I would be. Like what if the internet just disappeared tomorrow? And I wasn't able to content create and try to chase that dream, then what would I have? And basically, when I realized, like, I don't fucking know, I started spiraling. When I tell you I had an ego death, like, if you guys have ever done shrooms or psychedelics and had an ego death where you kind of just, like, start, like, not liking anything about yourself and then you start freaking out, like, I don't know. I had an ego death. But the thing with psychedelics is it's like a 6 to 12 hour thing, and then you kind of Maybe you learn some stuff, maybe you don't, but you get to go back to real life. This was a slow, painful, sober ego death, and it lasted like a week, although I'm still kind of feeling it. But like it lasted like the intense like crying every day was a week long. I'm telling you, I cried from Sunday to the next Sunday. I cried every day about how just like I don't know what I'm doing in life. I don't know who I am. Why am I so dependent on like everything? And I also just realized too that like I need attention so bad. Like that's like really what it comes down to. It's not that I need to be with somebody or any of that, because what do all those things have in common? I need attention. And I feel like just like as humans, we've become so addicted to needing attention. And it's just like, it blew my mind. I don't know why it blew my mind, but I was just like, I don't want to be like dependent on this attention, because if everything did get wiped away, would I be able to survive without seeing people, without people seeing me, like without being able to post myself, without being able to talk to anybody, without having my phone to connect me? Let's just imagine that I was in like a cabin in the middle of the woods and I had no one. Like, would I be able to mentally survive? And yes, I know that's not realistic and humans aren't meant to live in isolation, but I do think it's important that if that ever did happen, you should be able to be comfortable with yourself. And okay, I feel like I'm kind of like being confusing right now and talking a lot about isolation and like everything being wiped away. I'm not saying I think that's gonna happen. I'm not saying that I'm planning on going to live in the woods and be alone. I'm just saying through all of this, I realized that I don't have a sense of self and I don't like myself. That's basically what I'm saying. And that I realized that if all these things did get taken away, I would be absolutely fucked, because I am dependent on talking to people or connecting with people through my phone or posting so that people like see my face. And that's basically that. I realized that what it really comes down to is I'm dependent on attention, and attention is a drug. Although we need human connection, we shouldn't be dependent on it. It's not healthy. And when I realized this, I was just like spiraling, losing my mind. Okay, so who am I without all these things? How do I find myself? And then I started thinking about the phone thing again, and just how like everybody else is so dependent too, because I know I'm not the only one. Like, we have a problem in this world with phones, like just taking over, especially in kids. I've been seeing a lot of TikToks of teachers complaining about their students and how they can't even read, and they're in like grade 7 or 8. They can't read. They don't know what shapes are, and they're just always on their phones. They're super like into like these TikTok trends, like the Stanleys. Like all they do is like shake their Stanleys and like go on their phones, and like the way they talk with all the slang, it's like they're not even like real people at this point. And I'm just thinking about how worried I am, because I look back on myself when I first got my phone. I first got my phone in grade 7, so I was like 12 years old. And that's when all my depression started. I used to like have hobbies and be a kid and have fun. And then as soon as I had a phone, my entire life was that phone. And I was always texting my friends or playing games or watching videos. And I was staying up all night watching videos, and just like my whole life became just like this. I wasn't present anymore. I was just like this. And then I remember all my depression started, and then that's when my dependency on like my phone and relationships and everything else started. And I'm just like, the fact that it's happening for kids so much younger than me when I started using my phone is like terrifying to me, because at least I have a past to look back on. Like, at least I can look back on my childhood and be like, oh my God, remember when we didn't have phones and life was like real and we like played. And I know there's still kids that play. I'm not saying this is all kids, but there's babies on iPads and phones, and I'm just thinking like they'll never have anything to look back on. They'll never know what regular life is like, because I don't know, I just feel like I'm in a Black Mirror episode. I'm going fucking crazy. And I'm just thinking about like how lost I was in elementary school and beginning of high school because of my phone. Like, I was so lost and just always filling my void. I was running away from like all of my problems. And when it really came down to, like I said before, abandonment issues and like feeling neglected by your parents is why we were all on our phones. Like we all felt neglected in some way, I think. And so when I look at these kids that are on these phones so young, and it's because the parents are neglecting them, because the parents are the ones not wanting to deal with the kids, and so they shove the iPad in their face and they shove the phone in their face because it's like the only thing that they know, because they're tired and they're busy. Like, I understand the parents are tired and busy. The world is wearing the parents down, and so the parents can't parent, and they're neglecting the kids, and so the kids are neglected, the kids are depressed, the kids are uninspired, and so then they're not learning. And the teachers can't do shit because the teacher isn't the parent. The teacher needs to be able to work with the parent in order for the kid to thrive. And so it's like this triangle that's like not working. You know what I mean? And if this feels off topic, I'm sorry, but the reason why I bring up this whole kids on their phone thing is because I'm just thinking about how like creativity really is the like only meaning of life. And if we're not creating, if we're not thinking, there really is like no progression in the human race. And it sounds dramatic, but I don't think it is. I don't think it's dramatic enough. And I was ranting to someone about all of this, about how like if the kids stop creating, because the kids are our future, if the kids stop having ideas, they stop creating, they're just always numbing themselves out on their phone, like our world is screwed. Our world is screwed because ideas and creativity is literally what changes the world. And I truly believe that every human on this planet has gifts, and if you don't know what your gifts are, or you're not like aware to them at all because your brain's always numbed out like a zombie, we are actually screwed. And I was ranting to somebody like this, and they said, you're thinking way too much. You're thinking too much. Like, you just need to stop thinking so much. And I was just like, am I thinking too much, or are people not thinking enough? Because genuinely, I don't think people are thinking anymore. And let me explain what I mean by that. When you were a kid and you had nothing to do and you were sitting on your floor, bored out of your mind would start to come up with ways to make yourself not bored. You would come up with a game. You would maybe just talk to yourself. You would start thinking, you daydream, fantasize. That's literally like so good for your brain, is to be bored. It is so healthy to be bored, and we are not bored nowadays. We're just not bored anymore. And so we're not creating. And I just started freaking out about how nobody's creating anymore, and these kids are so lost. And I think back to when I was a kid and how lost I felt, how I wasn't creating. And now I'm trying to get back to that place of like, I'm trying to take my childhood back, because I honestly do blame, like, I don't know whoever they are, I don't know, the government, fucking whoever runs this world. I'm blaming them, because I feel like they do this on purpose. They want us to be so lost and so out of touch with our soul and our creativity and our passion for life. They want us to always be seeing all the bad shit on the news, to always be anxious and depressed and neglecting ourselves and just numbing ourselves and being zombies, that we never think and get inspired and do things and spread love. Because you know what? Creating, first of all, changes the world, because if somebody has an idea, that can inspire change in the world. Second of all, when you're creating from pure passion and pure joy, do you know what that does? That spreads love. That spreads the frequency of love on this planet. And I just noticed that, like, the frequency of love is not being spread because we're not creating, because nobody has anybody teaching them that, no, you shouldn't be on your phone 24/7. This isn't normal. This isn't how life is supposed to be lived. And I don't know, man. I just started getting really sick of all this stuff. I started freaking out. Like, is life ever gonna go back to normal? Are we ever gonna create? And then I realized, you know what? It starts with me. And not just me. Like, I'm fucking the only one. But basically, I'm saying, like, it starts with me, because I can't sit here and point fingers at, well, you're always on your phone and you're not creating and you're not doing this, because I'm doing the same thing. I'm always on my phone and I'm not creating and I'm not passionate anymore and I'm not trying to spread love. I'm just always trying to neglect myself and numb myself and fill the void with something else. And I just got to this point where I was like, I can't do this anymore. If I want to see the change in the world, I have to change myself. I have to like be disciplined enough to not go on my phone. I have to be disciplined enough to create and let myself be bored and think and just like and be a kid again. And literally it's that quote, be the change you want to see in the world. It's so true. Like you have to change so that you can inspire other people to change, because people learn by example. They don't learn by someone telling them to. And I also kept wondering too, like, why do I have such a hard time with like making friends that think like me? I was always just thinking like, I feel like I think so deeply about the future and like I want to change the world and I believe in such like spiritual things, and I always wondered like, why can't I find anybody else that like understands what the hell I'm saying? And then I realized maybe I'm where I'm supposed to be right now because the people around me, I'm meant to teach and inspire them. Like if I was just given all the people that are always going to understand me, they're always like, oh, I get what you're saying, I think the same thing too, there would never be any growth or change. There would never be a new conversation. If we just agreed all the time, there would never be a new conversation. It would just be like, oh yeah, we agree, oh that's awesome, cool. I realized that I'm the type of person that has a hard time having people understand them or relate or think like me, because I'm meant to change people around me for the better, because I know my ideas are important, I know my thoughts are important, and I'm meant to teach people and inspire and guide them. And that's what brought me out of that mental breakdown, is me realizing, okay, I feel bad and I'm worried for these kids. Okay, let me be the example to lead them. I want to become somebody that changes their life around so that I can hopefully lead these kids back to themselves. Because at the end of the day, we're all running from ourselves. The parents are running from themselves. The kids are running from themselves. Everybody's running from themselves. And I just really, really, really want to change that and help people see how amazing it can be to connect with yourself and be passionate, and that life is so much more amazing than just our phones and doom scrolling. And so yeah, that was my mental breakdown I had. I know that this was a very rambly, not very structured, but I think that's just how I was feeling. Rambly, not very structured, freaking out. And so I wanted to capture that in this podcast by just kind of saying whatever came to mind. I think I'm going to end it there. I am feeling a bit better now though, after I got a lot of that off my chest and kind of processed it. I was like, okay, life doesn't really make sense right now, but if I try to better myself, maybe I can inspire someone else to do the same. Thank you so much for listening to this little ramble today. Let me know down below if anybody else is feeling just kind of like lost right now, not really sure what you're doing. Let me know, because I feel like that's the most powerful position you can be in life. When you feel lost and like you don't know what you're doing, I feel like that's when the most change and inspiration can happen. And so yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. I appreciate it from the bottom of my heart. If you like this video, like, comment, and subscribe for more podcast episodes. I'm also going to be posting tarot videos every single week and story times once a month. That was episode 5 of The Blunt Side, the podcast where we talk about anything and everything without a filter. I'm Sydney, and I will see you guys in the next video.